again. My name is Emily Pettit. I'm the Dean of Student Engagement and the Director of Career and Personal Counseling. This session, Dean Peterson mentioned it was a couple hours. It's really just 1 hour, as you see on your agenda. This session is to talk with you about being a partner in your child's success. And I also want to not only talk about your role in that, but our role and the student's role. The first part of this session this morning is going to be coming from sort of the student affairs side of things, engaging with your student outside the classroom. And then the second section that we'll go through are going to be more helping you all understand institutional policies and processes with regard to financial aid and billing and those kinds of things. So kind of a two-part approach today to making sure that you as parents understand as much as you can about how to be help your student be successful while they're here. So again, welcome, and we'll go ahead and get started. Again, 3 parts that I just mentioned in terms of supporting your child's success. Your role, it's a careful balance between nurturing and letting go. You heard Ms. Benfield talk a little bit about that, and also Emily. There is no magic timeline as to when your child becomes that young adult. It just sort of happens. As you heard Emily say, at 4 years out after graduating in May, that she looks back and thinks, I don't really know when it happened, but I just found myself. I grew up, and that's naturally sort of how that happens. Ultimately, it's the student's responsibility, your child's responsibility, to create their own success and to be engaging in their journey while they're with us. And then I certainly want to make sure that I share with you all what our role is as the institution to support your child's success. You had a choice as to which college your son or daughter is going to. We're glad you're here. We believe you made the right choice, and I think hopefully you will walk away today understanding the partnership of all of us that are on campus that will be with your child for the next 4 years, helping them along their journey. The next screen I'm going to show you is a small little video about the moving in process, the fall start, and parents, and what that experience is like. As everybody in August, there's all across the nation, everybody is packing up a college student and taking them to some institution. Spoken with a parent who was here earlier, right over there, who has twin children. One is here, and one's going to be in another state altogether. And I said to her, how are you managing that? She goes, well, I was just at orientation with the other one in, I think, Alabama, and now I'm here, and then she's going to have to move in 2 different places. So we do understand that the next couple of weeks will be filled with a lot of planning and preparation, and some of you all as parents may be in 2 different places getting children situated at various colleges. I realize that in this presentation they talk a little bit about kicking the parents out. One of the things I want to say to you all today is we at Piedmont expect this to be a partnership together. We need you and your child needs you. This is not the end of your responsibilities as a parent. It is a new chapter and a new beginning towards moving them from being under your care daily, every day with decision making, and becoming those young adults and independent thinkers that you're looking for them to be. So again, I want to really make sure we're really clear at Piedmont. We're looking for a partnership here with you all to help support your child as they move through 4 years and graduate. We need you, and they need you. They need to let you go. That is certainly part of the growing up process. And I wanted to mention that if it's not clear, this is stressful for you and it's stressful for your child. So we recognize that on the college end. We work with families just like yourselves and students, and we've been doing this, some of us, for a number of years. So we're very comfortable in that role, and we recognize that that might be hard for you all. There may be some anxiety in this room right now about letting go. What does this mean? How many of you guys, is this your first child going to college? Would you raise your hand for me? I generally have most of my room filled with parents that are sitting off the chalk for the first time.
Twins.
And I got twins here, I got twins over there. So a third set, a lot of twins in the room. Okay, 3 sets of twins, so they're really feeling it. My point is, this is the first time you're making this journey with your child, and so there are probably a lot of unknowns, and there's no prescription or detailed examples of exactly what you should be doing as a parent. Everybody's journey is unique and their own. But allowing your room for your child to grow is vital to their development as an adult. You heard them joke about that your child may move back after school, and he was like, oh, heaven forbid. Well, I'm sure most of you would say that's certainly okay if they do, but the bottom line is we want to prepare them to be young adults and independent thinkers so that they can take care of themselves and be contributing members of their community without having to come back home because they haven't developed those skills, and they will do so at college. This is where we begin working on trying not to do everything for them. I've got some parents in the room, and you know who you are. If you do everything for your son or daughter now, now's the time to begin working on the independence. I have 11th grader, he's rising 12th grader now. In my home, we talk about it all the time. I say, when you go to college, we won't be there to do this. And so, for example, let's go to the washing machine now and let me show you how to wash your clothes. You see the dishwasher there? The dishes don't magically jump in there. We have to put them in there. So those are the things that I've been talking about for a number of years, and that's because I work on a college campus. For those of you that haven't thought about that, now's the time. How many of you guys still wake up your son or daughter in the morning when they have something important to do? All right, and you probably haven't thought about it until just now when I said it. So now you realize that probably needs to stop right now. We want your son or daughter to get to class on time and get where they're supposed to be. So this is, again, it's a process for you and for them. Listen to what they have to say when they're calling you, when they're at school. Be careful to balance the home life with the school life. Part of my responsibilities are also in career and personal counseling, and so I talk with students as they may hit a bump in the road or be struggling, and sometimes I hear their worry about home life. They love you deeply, and they are concerned quite often about family dynamics or something that's happening with a brother or sister or health in the family, or it could be an employment situation. What we want to do is to make sure that your child has plenty of time to focus on their academics first before they put the worries from home that most likely they can't change or impact. And when that worry gets in front of studying and being prepared for classes, sometimes we see a student who struggles academically. So as a parent, I'd like to caution you about that. You know your child best. You know whether or not they're a worrier or they have a lot of anxiety. And if so, I'd ask you now to be thinking about how you might gauge the information from home as you share that back and forth. It might be that you wait until they come home on weekends or fall break or Thanksgiving to discuss something that may be potentially upsetting. Parents, we want you to be interested but not intrusive, and that means that your child needs you to be a part of their life, but not necessarily on a minute-by-minute, play-by-play action. You know your child well, and I have worked with youth for a long time, and one of the things I know is that sometimes the emotions and feelings of a young person at this age can change as quickly as the weather does. For example, someone could have gone to class, gotten back a test paper that had a C- on it or some sort of grade they've never seen before and feel just absolutely distraught. Wrecks their whole day. They're in tears, upset. Maybe they text you, maybe they communicate with you. Everything is awful. I hate college. I'm quitting. Come get me. It can happen, right? So there you are, wherever you live, and we have somebody from California, so she's got to start making plane flight arrangements right away to come get that child that's in crisis. I got some of you from Michigan. You got to pack up the car, get gas in there because it's a long drive, and then by the time you get started to come and take care of your child, they are on to something else. They are happy. They've got friends they're out with. You call back and say, well, listen, I'm coming to get you. And they're like, why are you coming to get me? What's going on? Why am I leaving? And then you realize they have already moved on. And that's what happens in the life of a teenager. Seasons turn quickly. Things happen quickly. So please be very patient with that experience. I promise you're going to get those calls where there's going to be a moment of panic and fear. And as a parent, we try to be fixers. We're going to want to fix that problem. I ask you now to give it at least 24 hours, 48 hours, and allow your young person to learn how to fix it themselves or to work themselves through it. Okay? So again, just a moment of caution. I've been working in college universities for 20 years, so those experiences are very real to me, and I just wanted to, again, offer you that little tip for success. Try not to quiz what's happening for your student each day. You might just ask open-ended questions and allow them to share openly with you, because as a parent, you don't really know what's been the most meaningful part of their day, and if you ask detail, you might miss the opportunity for them to communicate more fluidly with you and share things with you in terms of their journey. Take an active interest in what they're learning, even if it's something you've never heard of. That happens to me all the time. Sometimes the students will come to me and want to share something they're running in class, and I have to act like I know what they're talking about, but I am excited and eager for their journey, because if it gets them excited, like we heard from Emily Benfield, she enjoys salamanders. Well, that's great. Usually when I see them, I'm jumping and squealing just a little bit, but she's passionate about those, and so I want to celebrate that with her. And as a parent, try to also feel the same way when they're communicating with you about topics that you may or may not know about. Successful students are the ones who have parents that are still very much involved in their lives. They are folks who are engaged. They are actively a part of helping them, guiding them, although be it from the youthfulness of a child to that independence and young adulthood that we're all working to move our students towards. Be supportive and allow for risks. Sometimes we find that students do the most growth when they've actually failed or not been successful at something. That's when we learn the most about our character, we find courage, and then we also pick ourselves back up and move forward in a new direction. Your child will have the opportunity to come to Piedmont College and recreate themselves. We leave high school behind, we leave those friends behind, we start fresh. So they will come to college and they'll try new ideas on. They'll try new friends on. They'll try all kinds of things. That's what we want. Some of those will not be successful. Don't be upset or concerned about that. We want to allow those risks to happen because in that moment, I believe, is when our children do the most growing. So don't be afraid of that, parents. Their role. Students' responsibility, obviously, it's their responsibility. It's on them. And here are some things that we want to talk about that I've noticed that impact them towards their success. Physical and mental health, social and behavioral choices, and academic efforts. Our goal here is to lead all of our students towards graduation. That's your goal, that's our goal. And so our responsibilities together are to keep your child focused on that goal at all times. And throughout 4 years, sometimes the focus is going to move around or wax and wane. And that's why we're here to help support them in case they either get off track or find that they're stumbling in one area or the other. In terms of physical and mental health, it's important that your child realizes that they still need to be getting 8.5 to 9.5 hours of sleep. I realize that may not be realistic, but it's still okay for us as parents to recognize that's what the National Institute of Health tells us, because it is our responsibility to still offer good guidance and support for our students and say to them, you need to be getting plenty of rest so that you can think clearly. In terms of sleep, 2 things are happening. It's restorative for your body, and number 2, it almost acts like a filing system in the brain. When your sons or daughters are studying during the day, if they do not get plenty of sleep that night, maybe they get a couple of hours because they're cramming for a test, when that student goes in to take the test, they are less prepared. They cannot find the information in their filing cabinet because the filing cabinet didn't have enough time to put everything in its place. So if they have plenty of time to sleep, then what we find is that students who've studied, that information is more accessible and they're much better prepared academically to take a test or to do some sort of activity in class. So when you are talking with your child this summer, go ahead and tell them that. Say, I want you to be the best you can be, get plenty of sleep so that your brain can file all that good information away in an organized fashion. Exercise. Raise your hand if your son or daughter is going to be on an athletic team here at Piedmont College. Okay, this part's not for you. Put your hands down. This is for everybody else. I had a great question from a mom about what if my daughter wants to maybe think about trying out for volleyball, or she's not sure. Maybe she wants to play soccer, maybe cross country. That's fine. But for the folks that are not going to be working several hours a day in some sort of athletic training program, they need to make sure that they're taking care of their bodies as well. You may or may not know that we have a brand new student commons that's coming online. It's going to be starting this fall, and we have wonderful things under that one roof. All dining services are there. Student affairs offices, clubs, and organizations are there. We also have a rock wall that's fabulous, and we have a brand new fitness center and a gym, and so we'll have a lot of activities there. Group fitness. I've got some staff members that are leaving at the end of this month to go to a pounded class, and I asked what this was because I had to sign off for them to go, and it is an opportunity to come to a fitness class and actually use drumming methods or mechanisms to actually exercise your body. And I thought, what would they think of next? We're already kickboxing, we're hanging off the rock wall, we're drumming. We don't care. We just want your student to be physically active, so that's important for us. Healthy eating. You have probably been preparing meals or talking with your son or daughter about their dietary efforts, and what we want to say now is now's the time to say make sure that you're taking care of the balance there, and sometimes our young people don't know what the balance is. So healthy eating is something that as a parent you'll notice if we've got a problem with, and so you probably want to keep an eye on that and talk with them about that this summer. Managing emotions. Teenagers will be learning to manage emotions for quite some time. The reason is they have extra hormones running around. And those extra hormones create a fluctuation of mood from happy to crying in about 2 seconds. So that's normal, and we know that. So we will expect that over the next 4 years, learning to manage those emotions. That's where that maturity comes into play. Learning to be able to keep it together in a room or a group, even if you're upset, or not flying off the handle, or tempering those feelings. So be patient with your son or daughter as that continues they continue to grow in that area while they're here. I should mention to you that the decision-making part of our brain, the frontal cortex here, doesn't stop growing the brain until the age of 25. So now we've got a lot of emotions running around and hormones, and the brain's still growing until 25. So you can see there's a big mix there of a lot of things that's going on inside the teenage brain that we have already bypassed, and in looking back, just as a reminder. Utilize disability services. If your son or daughter had an IEP or a 504, you're going to want to make sure that you meet with Ann Hughes, and your son or daughter needs to actually be doing that as well. But we want to say to you that students don't necessarily magically outgrow something because they're 18. Sometimes I find that I hear that from students. They'll say to me, oh, I had an IEP in high school. And I say to them, well, why aren't we doing that here? And they'll, oh, well, I'm in college now. Well, that doesn't stop ADD and it doesn't stop other things. So please talk to your child now about that, and we want to make sure they continue with all prescribed medications. If they have a therapist back home that's been working with them and has a nice working relationship, please continue that. We don't want to stop those wonderful support systems just because they're in college. So when I'm a parent, my first thought is, if there's something wrong, how can I help? So it's important for me to put some things here so that as you're getting phone calls back home, emails, texts, or whatever, I want you to feel prepared in terms of the partnership and supporting your child. Healthy choices in the dining hall. They can bring their own meals from home if they need to, but your child who's living on campus that's in a residential student will have a meal plan of 19 meals, and they will also have a declining balance, which means sort of like campus cash where they can go in and grab a meal to go. Lots of dining opportunities. We want them to eat and make sure they take care of themselves nutritionally. Our fitness center is free. That means it's available to your student without any kind of charge or fee. And I think we run, this is a new facility for us, but we plan to run that until midnight. So every day there's plenty of opportunities for your student to kind of work off some of that stress and have a great time exercising or being a part of a group fitness course. Intramurals are a great way to celebrate a particular sport you like, but not necessarily commit to the team for the season. So that is going to happen quite a bit on campus. We have about 50% of our students who choose to be in athletics. And for some of those folks, they start it and they decide this is not the right fit for me. So that you can see that creates a large group of students who may be interested in just really enjoying a sport, no matter what it is, softball, volleyball, basketball. We do a lot of intramural programs for that exact purpose. We have brand new equipment coming to the brand new building that I just mentioned, and you'll see that when you go over to look at Purcell Hall today. And then we have yoga classes, all kinds of things. So, and then we're going to have a racquetball court over in our new building. I forgot about that. How to help. If you find that your child is struggling with something, please remind them we have personal counseling available on campus. All they need to do is email the counselor and just say, I'd like to meet with you, and then the counselor will work with them to find a time in their schedule that works. It is free. It is available. I'm one of the counselors, and I have another person who is full-time on this campus, and that's all she does is personal counseling. They're away from you. Again, I've got some of your parents, some of you guys as parents are pretty far away. You may be worried. There could be a death in the family. At this age, sometimes we see that our grandparents for these children are getting older, so naturally we see sometimes that they may experience death for the first time. Or maybe just getting adjusted to college life, being away from home. So again, personal counseling services are free and available, and I encourage you to remind your child about that should you hear things that are telling you it's time to get that kind of help. And insurance-wise, as a reminder that students that are under the age of 21 can still, or 26 can still be on your plan for health insurance. Student success, again, now, these are the tricky ones, social and behavioral choices. This is where our sons and daughters start exercising their right to be independent. Sometimes in a wonderfully graceful way, and sometimes in a way that we think, good gosh, are you my child? So, time management, number one. Your child will have to manage time in a way they've never done before. Many times when I talk with freshman students, I'll hear that when they were in high school, they didn't study. They didn't need to, and they made excellent grades. That will not happen here, I can assure you. The first semester of Piedmont College experience, they may find that they remember things from high school, or maybe there's some overlap. But very quickly, we move out of that realm. And so you'll start to see, maybe the first fall semester we're fine, maybe spring semester, all of a sudden we start seeing that academically that your child is struggling. And that's because they're finally getting to material that they don't know, and it may be challenging for them. Our faculty are going to challenge them in ways they haven't been challenged before, and that means they're not going to ask them to repeat everything they know and memorize on a test. They're going to be asking for them to be able to integrate the ideas. They're going to be able to write about the ideas. It is not going to be all multiple choice and memorization. That will not get your son or daughter through their educational experience at Piedmont. Time management. Today your child will leave with a schedule, and it will say on there, for example, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, English class at 9 o'clock, ends at 9:50. A college student is going to want to do what at 9:50 after English class? Take a nap, go to bed. I see them laying all over these couches. They'll be everywhere. They're half asleep. They definitely don't want to do anything but rest, right? As if they're exhausted, and maybe they are because they didn't get enough sleep, and we already talked about that. My point is, now's the time as a parent to pull that schedule out with them over this summer and start talking about time management. Say to them, at 9:50 when your class is done, while your brain is still fresh and you're on the topic of English you just learned, rather than going back to your residence hall and going to bed, how about review the notes that you just received from that faculty member, or better yet, prepare for the class that's happening at 11. Go to the library, stay on this side of campus rather than going back to the residence halls. Your son or daughter is not going to be used to only going to English class Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or could be the science class on Tuesday, Thursday. There's a lot of time in between, a lot of days in between. So each day we want to make sure that your child is studying the material to keep their information fresh. Can anybody tell me about how many hours you might be expected to study outside the classroom to be successful on a college course? It's about 2. The hand that raised in the front, let me tell you really quickly. This is, she said, I'm a parent today. What that means is she's actually a rising sophomore with us here at Piedmont. She brought her brother. So she's going to tell me how many hours it takes outside the classroom. Caitlin.
You're supposed to do double the amount of hours that you have.
That's exactly right. So if you had a 1-hour class of English, we would expect a couple of hours, maybe even that day, to then make sure that we're preparing ourselves by rereading the material, writing the paper, getting the paper edited, whatever the case may be, for those extra hours. Sometimes college students don't think about that, especially their freshman year. They think all I have to do is go to class and I'm done. Well, college is different. The professors are going to expect that you're prepared when you land in class. Very important. If your son or daughter is in athletics, they will then learn to time manage more quickly than everyone else. They will realize that wake-ups are at 6 in the morning and maybe they have to be on the ball field for the next 2 hours and they go right into class at 8. So then you can't wake up early that morning and think, I'm going to get my homework done before I go into class. That won't work. So again, time management, you may hear those struggles. If your son or daughter is struggling with that, they can come to the Student Success Center, and in the Learning Center, they will have folks that work on time management with them if they need that. There are lots of folks on campus that can help them. Social life management. We heard from Emily Benfield, who spoke earlier. What she mentioned was she was really, really shy. So social life management probably wasn't an issue for her, except to say, hey, try out to get involved and be engaged. I see students on both ends of the spectrum. I'll have some that would prefer to just socialize and hang out with friends and do everything we do here rather than go to classes. Then I've got some that want to go to classes and don't want to do anything else. So we work with both sets. The bottom line is our social life is very important to us while we're here, one way or the other. We don't want students who stay in their rooms and don't come out. And we don't want students who never enter the classroom. So somewhere in the middle. And that will ebb and flow. The freshman year, it might take a while to feel grounded, to feel comfortable. And then parents, you should begin to see a more comfortable and confident student getting involved in things around campus. Social life management, though, you will know best if you're getting phone calls from home probably about that in terms of if they're over-involved in something that they need to back off from, or don't seem to be talking about friends or engaging with people or doing things outside just going to classes. So just know we have many resources on campus for them to get involved, but we do want to see that balance. Partying. Again, I've been working with college students for 20 years. Many of them are so excited about coming to college because why? Woo, it's my rite of passage. I'm finally away from mom and dad. I'm coming to college. We are going to rock this house. They are looking forward to cutting loose, and that means without you. Now, I'll be honest with you. There's a good chance they didn't tell you that. There's a good chance you haven't had that conversation. You don't know that. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't talk about it now. So your children, most of you are from Georgia, even though we've got some folks from all over. Most of you are from Georgia, and the Centers for Disease Control does a survey for the Georgia schools, and they do it during their 11th grade year, and I pulled that up. So 2 years ago, your children were in the 11th grade, and I just real quickly looked at this just to see. So y'all look with me for a second. This is the Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance System. This is a survey they put out. I was particularly interested in looking at specifically the alcohol and other drugs area. What you see here are percentages in 2013 among 11th grade students in Georgia. Percentages of students who have ever had at least one drink of alcohol, 61%. Maybe not a shock, tried it. Drank alcohol before the age of 13. 17% of our Georgia students, your students were part of that class, had already had alcohol before the age of 13. That seems a little young to me, to be honest. So I was surprised when I saw these numbers. Currently drank alcohol, what that means is, that means 30 days prior to taking the survey. So this survey was administered at some point during the school year. 30 days prior, had that 11th grader had alcohol. 28% of them. Some other concerns for me, had 5 or more drinks of alcohol in a row. Okay. That's more than anybody needs, 13%. That puts us into a danger category there. All right? And then we see marijuana and cocaine and those kind of things. So I bring that up, parents, not to scare you. I bring it up to tell you these are what our young people are doing and into, whether you know it or not. I bring it up to say to you, please have a conversation with your son or daughter this summer about their thoughts about alcohol or marijuana or whatever you'd like to talk about. And it may be uncomfortable, but it's important that you talk about that now. Because they may have an idea, college is for party and I can't wait to get there. So they come to a small campus like Piedmont where we know everybody's name and we keep an eye on folks. That's probably not going to be a good fit. So very quickly we may run into a situation where they're experimenting and we get in a little bit of trouble. Okay? I also want to tell you that we're prepared to handle this. This is what we do. Again, I've been on college campuses for 20 years. I've seen lots of alcohol in the hands of folks that are under age 21. So we will help them learn through that. We will help them learn from their mistake, but we will address it. So I do want to let you know that we have processes in place. Your son or daughter is going to get an email from me the last week of this month that's going to ask them to complete an alcohol, drug, and sexual assault educational module. The reason we do that before they come is because we want them thinking about this. We want them to be aware of the educational pieces that are offered in that program, and that's about, you know, what drinking does to our body and all those things. So you don't have to worry, we're going to do that. And I wanted to let you know, though, that this is something that we are prepared and ready to deal with. But please have the conversation this summer with your son or daughter so you don't have surprises. That was the partying section. Social media management. Your young people have been online on your phone when they were little, on iPads, almost since birth. This generation coming through has had technology in their hands as long as they remember having hands, right? Those of us are probably still getting used to the technology, even this laptop. I couldn't get this thing to work a minute ago. But our young people, very different. That also means that they've been putting things online about themselves for a number of years. Sometimes they put pictures of themselves online they shouldn't. Sometimes they text a real quick tweet or something that maybe later they look at and they reflect and they think, ooh, I shouldn't have done that. So I encourage you to have a conversation about your son or daughter. You know how socially connected they are in media, and you know, because maybe you're following them on their Twitter account, Instagram, Vine, Snapchat, lots of opportunities. Now's the time to talk about that, because what's going to happen when they come to see me their junior or senior year to get that resume ready for the internship we talked about earlier, and we want them to be successful in that role, that potential employer, the first thing they do is pull up their digital identity. They want to look and see who they are. And unfortunately, our young people think that some things are anonymous. They think Snapchat can't be recreated and goes away in a few seconds and that's it, and erases. That's not true. So please talk with your son or daughter now about that so that we don't have any surprises when it's time to send them out for an internship opportunity or even a great job. Personal integrity is part of that. As you heard from Dean Peterson this morning, talking about you have raised your child with wonderful family traditions, values, and a lot of different things that you've expected from them. We expect all that to continue here. We want them to bring their personal integrity with them even while they're experimenting and trying new things. So don't be afraid to have that conversation as well. They represent you, your family, their high school, and their hometown, their church, lots of different agencies and lots of different folks in your community. So we want them to come here and shine as brightly as we know they can. Get involved. What we know about students who get involved on campus, number one, they're more likely to graduate on time and with a higher GPA. Who doesn't want that? Graduate on time and with a higher GPA. For our freshman students, it takes a while to find your footing, find your grounding. You're starting over brand new, and it's a clean slate. You get to be whoever you want to be. If you didn't like who you were in high school, they get to start over. We don't know the difference. The good news with that is, while that's a clean slate, the other part of that is it takes a little while to find your people, find your group, find your club, find your organization. If you are hearing from your son or daughter that by spring semester they've not found something to do outside the classroom, that's the time as a parent. This is what you can do to help start pushing. I'll talk to you here real quickly. There's a good screen on that. The bottom part of it I'm going to address real quickly. Getting involved. Inside your student's packet was a brochure about all of the different clubs and organizations we have on campus. We have 40 of them now. That number fluctuates because your sons and daughters will come to us. They'll start out this fall and spring semester and say, I'm interested in such and such. You don't have a club here. Then we're going to say to them, find a group of other people that are interested, and I'll show you how to get that club or organization started. We're richer for it, and they learn how to communicate with other people, build interest, and actually create a club or an organization. For example, 2 things this past year. One is I had someone come to us and say, you don't have a scuba club here. And I thought, right, we don't have any water here. He said, well, I'd like to start one. And I said, okay, well, where are you going to scuba dive? And he was talking about his interest in some of the lakes that are just over to the towards South Carolina, right over the line. And he said, so I'd like to start it. He goes, I'm certified. I have all the equipment. I have a lot of excitement around it. Would you be willing to let it happen? And we did. And he created a scuba club. So you just never know. Another student came to us his freshman year and said, I would like to play bubble soccer here at Piedmont. And I was like, first of all, we were like, what is bubble soccer? I know what soccer is, but not in a bubble. And once we learned about it, he actually brought that activity to campus, working with all the departments on campus, generating a lot of student excitement and support. And then one night, seems like it was, I don't know, 7 or 8 o'clock at night, it was dark on the athletic field. Faculty and staff were gathered around, CNN came to tape it, and everybody was out on the field having a great time. That's what we're all about. Piedmont is small enough for your son or daughter to find their place, whether it's bubble soccer, scuba, or something I haven't even thought of yet that I'm going to introduce to parents next year right about this time, and it'll be something your son or daughter brought forward. So getting them involved is extremely important. Time management, I skipped that part. I want to address that now. Your Piedmont 1101 course, you will see your son or daughter when they leave today, that schedule will show Piedmont 1101. Those of you who went to college are familiar with the college first year experience. That's similar to like a freshman seminar, college student success class, something along those lines. We talk about all they need to know to be successful at Piedmont College. So that class is a 1 credit hour course. It's not meant to be particularly demanding or difficult to do, but we do expect the students to participate in that, and they'll learn a lot about test taking, time management, navigating around campus, finding out who's who, and knowing where to go for resources. Their academic advisor is an incredibly important resource for you. As you heard from Dr. Reddick, when students say to you, oh, I'm struggling in class, or I'm not sure, remind them that their academic advisor is the expert in that area and will help guide them forward. So don't be afraid. Even if you don't know who they are, the academic advisor, just say, have you spoken with your academic advisor about this? And that's an easy thing for a parent to remember. Again, time management, if they're struggling with time management, the counseling offices can help with this, as well as the Learning Center, as I mentioned earlier. Student success. As you heard mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that all students go to class every day. Parents, I know that you're a part of the financial contribution to your child coming to Piedmont College, so this is where, as a parent this summer, you say, listen, my expectations of you are, we're paying for your education, you cannot get it unless you're in the classroom. If you wanted your son or daughter to go to an online program, you wouldn't be here. So we need to see your son or daughter in the class. We need to have the opportunity to engage them and teach them, and we can only do so if they're in the classroom. So if I were you as a parent, I would tell them right now that they should not be missing class unless there is a medical situation, they're sick, or maybe there's a family emergency. That should be the only times that we miss class. I highly encourage all families to make sure that the students have their textbooks before class starts. It's very difficult to start very prepared and off on the right foot if you don't have your textbooks. You're going to hear at the end of our presentation today from Claudia Barton, who's in the bookstore. She will tell you all about that, and you also have a flyer in your packet. C's are average. I have yet to meet a college student who said to me, I can't wait to come to college to be average. So as parents this summer, you might start talking about the grades you're anticipating from your son or daughter. I would expect A's and B's. Now, don't get me wrong, there's going to be a class that's going to be so hard, it's all they can do to get through it, and I'm sure they might bring in a C. But be expecting that they have that level of performance. Hope Scholarship, if your son or daughter is getting a Hope Scholarship, that's a 3.0 grade point average, which is a B average. So we definitely want to see A's or B's if we're getting Hope Scholarship money. That's very helpful. We don't want to lose that. Communicate frequently with professors. Many professors have gray hair. Sometimes young people are scared of gray hair. I don't know what it is, but they're afraid of it. They think we're dinosaurs and we're old or we're intimidating, and that's never our intent. So as you hear your son or daughter talk about their concern for classes, ask them, have you spoken directly with the faculty member? They're an expert in their area. We don't provide, we don't have teaching assistants, TAs they're called on other campuses. That means it's a graduate student teaching. That is not Piedmont College. They will be working with someone, probably with gray hair, who is seasoned in their particular field of study, and almost all of them will have doctorate degrees. We have some with masters, but I got to tell you, we have very, very seasoned and expert group of folks that are going to be working very passionately with your child. If they're struggling, we need to get to the Student Success Center. You'll hear from Ann Hughes in a few minutes about that. Academic integrity. When students aren't time managing well, they start cutting corners. We see this at the end of a semester when they suddenly realize that their 5 faculty members didn't get together in a room and say, oh, you've got Susie in class. I was going to give a test. Are you going to give a test? Oh, okay, well, I won't give mine because I don't want her to have too many tests in one day. All of a sudden in college, we realize that these courses are incredibly independent, and each faculty member is not communicating with the other to make sure Susie has a very soft testing environment or doesn't have too many tests in 1 week. Academic integrity. As we get towards when things start piling up, if we haven't been managing our time well, then we cut corners. We borrow someone else's work, we go to the internet, we don't cite our work, and then we have a concern. So please, you might talk about that as well. How to help. Meet with the faculty member as soon as there's a problem. Meet with the academic advisor. Make the Learning Center, make an appointment, and they can do that online. We make it very, very easy. And you heard from Emily Vinfield. She was one of the tutors in the Learning Center. By the way, Emily spent most of her time while she wasn't in her house, I guess, over in the Student Center. So every single day I came to work, it felt like there was Emily both tutoring and studying herself. Every day I would see her, and that's probably why she's going on to veterinary medicine. That's a very difficult program to get into. So she worked very hard to get there. Register with disability services if necessary, and have a contingency plan. Contact Every student should get the contact information of somebody else in class, especially if your child is shy. Get a name and a number. That way, if they miss class, they can get the notes from someone else, because it's going to happen. Something's going to pop up. But that way, they know who to call and they're not lost. And then drop a class if necessary. You're going to hear from the registrar's office a little bit later. And if you find that your son or daughter is struggling, and rather than bringing in an F, sometimes we have to cut our losses. We don't do that often, but sometimes it's necessary. So please know that is an option. Career and personal counseling, again, free services available to your student anytime they're interested. Our role. We're on campus to help your student with everything that they need to do to be successful. We enjoy our work. We're here because we want to be. We work at Piedmont by choice, and we value the opportunity to be a part of the journey for 4 years. As we began our orientation this morning, I was chatting with the dean of the business school, and he said, listen, I just heard back from such and such student who just graduated. He is working on a college campus. He's going to his master's degree program, and I think he's also doing some communications in an athletics program. He is ecstatic. And what that person said to me next was, you know what, I remember when he came in as a freshman and how hard he had to work, and he struggled at times, and he did so much growing up. That's the same experience we're going to have with your sons or daughters in 4 years as we see them walk across the graduation stage. We will know them, and we will think back, goodness, remember when they were freshmen? Remember a sophomore? Now look at them. So we have that same amount of pride as you do. We make ourselves available at all times to help your student. That's the whole point. That's why we're here. And then we want to make sure that you encourage your student to ask for help. Sometimes teenagers have never done this before, and they don't realize how important it is. As adults, we know we don't know everything. We also know we have to ask for help, and we need to make sure that your child knows that. It is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness, to reach out and ask for somebody to help support you through something you're struggling with. You heard promoting self-advocacy mentioned earlier. What that means is we welcome students coming to us with a problem, but this may be a new experience for them. We're going to expect them to take responsibility in solving the problem. We're not going to give the answer or tell them what to do. What we're going to say is, here's your problem, what would you like to do with that? And if they're not sure, we talk about resources, we talk about next steps, but we are going to ask them to do it. We're not going to be fixers for them. And that's an important part of growth. We're always concerned for their safety, their emotional well-being at all times, so don't think we're not going to intervene if we need to. We do that as we need to, and we'll get you guys involved if we get into a crisis situation. So don't worry about that, parents, backgrounds in counseling. We're here to help. Who is we? Lots of we's. Campus police are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are on campus. They walk through the residence halls. They walk the campus. They drive golf carts around. They are visible and present. Your child will probably begin to call them by their first name. Officer such and such. And you'll be like, who is that? And that's how close we become. Personal counseling, I mentioned, those services are available at all times. Career counseling, we want to start that right away the freshman year, and that can mean that we start talking about a major. Some of your students are undecided, and that's perfectly okay. But we don't want to get to that junior year and still be undecided. That's a little long. But it's okay to have our freshman, sophomore year exploring years. That's not a problem. But career counseling can help us find a career or a pathway we see ourselves in. And once we find that students are excited about that, they tend to be much more successful. Academic advisors, the academic advisors that your sons or daughters will have now are also teaching that Piedmont 1101 course. There's no way they don't know who they are, and they will see them weekly. So the point is, at a larger school, that might not be the case, but here at Piedmont, they will see them in those classes weekly, therefore they get to know them well, and that begins that bonding relationship. Also, on move-in day when you guys get here, you're going to see the Piedmont 1101 faculty will be helping your students bring their belongings into the residence halls. That only happens on this fall campus. So again, that's how connected we are. Learning Center is part of our new Student Success Center. You'll hear about that in a little bit. And Disabilities Coordinator will also be inside the Student Success Center. Our chaplain spoke with us earlier. Dr. Clear spoke, and so your son or daughter will engage with her quite a bit, especially through the Compass program, and if they're involved in campus life in the chaplain's area. Residential education, raise your hand if your son or daughter is living on campus. Okay, so it's most of you. Mark Gestel is going to be speaking with you in a few minutes, but that's a very strong team of folks to support your child. He has 25 staff members that live in the residence halls. He's been training his graduate students right now. They've been in training all this week. They'll be in training for the next couple of weeks. And then our RAs come to campus, and he'll be training them as well. So we're excited to be partners inside the residence halls with your son or daughter while they're learning and growing. And that means 2 o'clock in the morning when we're upset about something, that's where we see a lot of that happening. That's where we're there to be supportive, and we're there to care for your child because you're farther away, and we've done this, and we'll help them through that process. Coaching staff, many of you said your son or daughter is going to be an athlete, and you already know by the time, at this point, they've recruited you, they've spoken with you, you probably will remember the coach's name more than anybody else, and that's, again, such a strong program. I need to take this moment to reiterate now that we are students first and then athletes next. And even if you've gone online and looked at our athletic webpage and you see the grades, GPAs that we have, our students, they rock it in the classroom. And they are dynamos on those fields and courts, and it's just amazing. So we have a great balance of that here. Campus activities and leadership, you heard that Emily was talking about the biology club. That just happened to be what she was interested in. We have lots of those, so it's important that your son or daughter does something more than just classes. When we build that resume at that junior and senior year, if we just have, I went to college, that's a lot of white space on the rest of that resume. So it's very important we start building that leadership now. Fitness and intramurals, we talked about that earlier. We had a great question from someone asking about what are the opportunities. And so I got to be honest, with our brand new facility, new equipment in the rock wall, there may be things I haven't even imagined that we'll be able to offer. So you'll have to be patient with us as we explore that brand new facility. And this time next year, I'll be a little more well-versed in what we have to offer. The numbers that you see here, I will give to your students when they come back for Welcome Week. I make them pull out their cell phones, and we enter the Campus Police phone numbers in their phones so they have them at all times. More than half of our officers are certified, so they are able to carry weapons, and they've been trained. They don't have to use those, but I want to let you know that it's not campus security, but it's campus police. We feel very safe here. All cars are registered with Campus Police. When you get back in August with your child, if they've got a car, we can get them registered, no problem. We've got a lot of parking places on campus, not a big deal. We don't ticket for the first couple of weeks. It gives us plenty of time to get situated. As you might imagine, Campus Police works very closely with Residence Life to coordinate drills and trainings to make sure that everybody knows what to do in the unlikely event of an emergency. Resources in your folder, there's a red form that has medical service information on it. There's a white form, I think, that's a contact list as email addresses and phone numbers of folks you may need over the next few weeks. What to bring list, Mark mentioned that earlier. And disability services, you'll need to pick that up from Ann Hughes, who is here in the session. Summer discussions. You've got just a couple of weeks to talk with your son or daughter about a number of things. Here are some suggestions I would have for you during that very, I guess it's what, 4 weeks. Talk with your child about your expectations around communication, how often you expect them to call home or be in touch so that it doesn't go a couple of days and you get worried that they're in a ditch somewhere and your child is fine. They're just very, very busy on a college campus. But sometimes children don't have the same understanding of how often you'd like to speak as an adult might. I would also say to you now that I would say to my child, you and I will discuss your grades. I want to hear about those. I want to hear how you're doing. We're a part of this journey with you. Go ahead and set that stage right now. By law, the children's records move to them when they go to college at 18, so that means that the parent is not the primary owner of those records, which means we can't talk with you about that. So as a parent, what I would say is you tell your child the expectation is they'll talk with you about grades and make sure you know how to help them, because this is a partnership. Review the student handbook and campus policies with your child. That gives you a chance to talk with them about your expectations. That's going to be online the 1st of August. I'll send a link out in the email for that. We don't send the big books out anymore. We're trying to save paper. Residence halls close on the breaks. If your child is not an athlete, sometimes athletic competitions happen over our breaks anyway, fall or our Thanksgiving break and sometimes Christmas. But do expect that your child comes home and is with you during that time. And it could be they come home more frequently, and that's fine. But we need you. We need you to be able to spend some time with them, maybe help them wash clothes or make their favorite meal or just check in on them, because again, this is a partnership. So please make sure that they do come home and visit with you so you can keep an eye on their progress. We do hope that you'll mark your calendars now for Saturday, October 3rd. It is Freshman Family Day. We want you to come back to campus, and at that point your child will have been with us a couple of months. You'll get a chance to see them in their space here and see how they're blossoming at Piedmont, and we get a chance to see you and have a fun day. No lectures, no conversations like this, just a fun day. So we hope that you have that on your calendar.